What's going on, eighth grade algebra? We're looking at this lesson 8, and I know that we had several out for the tours of the band and strings and choir kids that are going around to the elementary. So hopefully, we have many of you guys paying attention on how to do this. But what we're doing is we're using these diagrams for area of rectangle to demonstrate multiplying these expressions of two terms multiplied by two terms. It's very much like the distributive property, but because we have two terms in each of the factors, there's more things getting multiplied than just like one thing. All right, so there's two things that I want to kind of go over this with you to help you see how these relate. So the first one is we drew these rectangular diagrams to show the area as an example of how these expressions multiply out and equal. So let's start off with that idea. So think of this part of the expression being the length of the rectangle, 3x plus 1, and x plus 2 being the width. And if we were going to find the area of that rectangle, we'd multiply length times width. And that diagram would set up like this. So we would draw the rectangle, and we would choose a side. It looks like x plus 2 is probably smaller, so I'm going to put x and 2 over here and let those be the lengths of those sections. So this is x long, this is 2 long. So altogether, this is x plus 2. And then over here, I'll do this section being 1 long to represent that, and 3 x's will be how long that is. And 3 x's is clearly longer than 1x. So I'm kind of trying to make this somewhat proportional. But, if we find what the area of this entire rectangle is, that should be equivalent to the multiplication of that expression times that expression. Length, 3x plus 1, times width, x plus 2. And so the way that we multiply these types of expressions is one part at a time. The 3x has to get multiplied by the x, which in this case would give us 3x squared, because x times x is x squared. And then we would do 1 times x, which would give us x in area. And then 3x times 2, which is 6x. And then 2 times 1, which is 2. So our area of our rectangle is all of this stuff added together. So that's what we do. We add it all together. We do 3x squared plus an x from that, plus a 6x from the bottom left, and plus a 2 from the last section. And you can see where the 7x comes from because of these like terms in the middle. So you end up getting 3x squared plus 7x plus 2. And then they want us to do it again for this x plus 4 squared. We can explain or show our reasoning. So for this next one, I want to demonstrate a shortcut to the diagram. All right, so you can use the diagram to multiply these out this way. But there's also another strategy, and I'll demonstrate that with this one. So anytime we square an expression like this, we're just multiplying the expression x plus 4 times itself. And that would look like this to kind of make it look like what we saw up here in the beginning. So think of this as the length and this as the width. Okay. But instead of drawing the diagram this time, I want you to notice something else that you can do in these types of problems. Whenever you have something like this, you can follow a strategy called the FOIL strategy. And I'll write it down over here, FOIL. FOIL. F stands for first. O stands for outside. I stands for inside. Sorry. And L stands for last. So if we follow the FOIL strategy, we're going to be multiplying in our length times width expression. Instead of drawing out the diagram, we're going to multiply the first number in each expression by each other. That would be first x times x. So we would do x times x for the first part. So this would be x times x. And then the outside part would be the numbers that are on the outside of the expression. So that would be here. Think of like the pieces of bread on a sandwich, the outside, x times 4. So the outside would be x times 4. And then the inside section, that would be like the meat of the sandwich, inside, 4 times x. that would be 4 times x. And then the last would be the two last numbers in the expression, which I'll note with this red square. Last times last, which is 4 times 4. 4 times 4. So whenever you do these things, first, outside, inside, last, you get the expression x times x, which is x squared, right? And then you get your second part of the expression, the outside numbers, x times 4, which gives you 4x. And then you get your inside numbers, which are 4 times x. So multiply that, you get 4x again. And then your last numbers, which are 4 times 4, which I'll note as being 16. And so you can think of it in this format without having to draw this diagram. Write out what you get, add it all together, and then whenever you combine your like terms, which are the two x terms in the middle, you get x squared plus 16x plus 16. So this would be showing my reasoning. They're the same because of the first, outside, inside, last strategy of the FOIL method. So these diagrams, this FOIL method, all ways that you can multiply these expressions of 2 parts by 2 parts. When you're using the distributive property technically, but it's a little bit different than the way you've done it in the past because you haven't had 2 numbers times 2 numbers. It's always been one number outside the parenthesis group. Your distributive property has usually looked something like this, like 3x times 4 minus 2x or something like that, and you just distribute the one thing. But now you've got 2 parts, right? You got a 3x and a 1 that you have to distribute to everything. And so you can follow this FOIL method or you can draw the diagram. Either way, you're going to end up with a quadratic. And the key today was that these 3-part quadratics are equivalent to these 2-part multiplication factors, like this. If we graph them both on Desmos, they would make the same parabola. We're going to get more practice on this. Don't freak out. I know a lot of you guys are going to be gone again tomorrow, so continue to watch these. Read the lesson summaries. That'll help you stay up to date. I'll have a quiz for you on Friday. If you don't feel comfortable taking that quiz Friday and you've been out the last 2 days, then you need to ask questions during the quiz, finish your homework, and be prepared to take it on Monday. I'll give you no more extra days. You need to stay up and caught up. Watch these videos. Later, guys.